Hi folks, I'm Doug at Dizzy Lizzie's, and this is a Stihl 145 degree pole trimmer head that makes noise whenever the blades are going backwards forwards, and we're going to take this apart and show you the reason why it's making that noise. Now, without connecting it up to a combi unit which you can swap the power over, the easiest way I found to test them is setting my portable drill onto maximum speed, connecting it to the shaft, and remember, these turn clockwise, because if you turn it anti-clockwise you'll also get a noise. But you can hear this. And this is what caused the problem. Now what I'm going to do is I've taken the 4 screws out of this and I'm going to take the cover off. And there's a bearing in here which helps that, supports it and not makes it move around. But this is what happens this is what's underneath this cover and causes the blade to reciprocate. There's a cam here which has got offset lobes. And there's a shaft where it connects into, and there's a tooth underneath, and they've worn out, and this is why it makes this noise. You can see the amount of play in that. That helps that keep it in place, but it's the teeth underneath that are worn away. So let's take this apart. Okay, now the tools I'm going to be using is a T27 torque spline part and an 8mm socket, and where is it? And also a modified 8mm socket. And what I've done is I've ground the edge down because there's 2 bolts here underneath this cover, underneath this plastic cover, that have got a smaller hole that a standard 8mm socket will not fit into. So anyway, let's start stripping it down. I've got a bit of rag here because it's now worse than having grease over your bench. So the first things to take off, well, the first thing to take off is this. That's where you put your grease in. And be honest with you, it's absolutely useless. I've seen people pump grease into that, and when you take the cover off, it's totally bone dry here. Next is that one, and that cover comes off. That goes into a bin, and these are the 2 bolts I was talking about. You have an 8mm socket here, and it doesn't fit in here. But you have an 8mm modified, and it now fits over that bolt and gives you a good drive. So I'll attach my 3/8, it's a 1/4 inch drive socket, wrench. Now these have a washer and a spacer, and there's another washer in there which I'll remove in a second once I've got the other blades out. But I always put the nuts and bolts back together again when I'm taking them apart. Keeps them together, and that goes in that tub. Pardon me. So I've just had a coffee. And then I'll take this bit off. And gently put that in there. Right, now I'll swap over to my normal 8mm socket. Where I'll put that. And I'll proceed to take these bolts off all the way along. Now, it's important to note when you're taking these off that it's not just a bolt in there. This is a piece which stops the grease from going out. It's not. There's a few parts that make up each one of these. And there's the bolt, the nut, a spacer and washers. I'll just quickly do one of these, and then I'll come back to you. Right, now I've taken these 9 bolts out. That means that this panel here is loose, and you can see underneath which way it goes around because of the markings on it. And then you've got the 2 blades that come out. Now, as I said before, it's made up of not just 1 bolt and 1 nut. You've got a spacer, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them, and I'll have to clean these up because there's all muck which gets pushed into these gaps here before I put them back, assemble it. You then got your 2 blades, remembering which way they go around. Move this to get it out. That's it, got them out. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 washers along the blade. And then don't forget the 2 really goopy ones. I have to wipe them off, that are under this bit at the back. Got some grease on them, and all this lot will have to be cleaned out. Now, so I'm going to have to get a bit of tissue paper. It's alright putting grease and wiping stuff off on the grease, but when it's a huge lump like that, you do not want to take it off into one of your cloths. Right, next thing to do is that bolt there. This is a 10mm bolt. Sorry, 10mm nut, and it's attached to the cam that reciprocates the blades going backwards and forwards. So what I do is I grab hold of it with this to stop it from moving, and then put the 10mm on here, and it comes off as easy as that. Now, let's see how badly damaged this is. Can you see that there? That's that section which got damaged. You compare it to the rest of the teeth on this cog, and that section there is absolutely mullered. Yeah, that bit there. But what I've also got to do in there, can you see that part? This is what gets driven from the shaft from the engine. So what I'm going to do, flat blade screwdriver, insert it into where the drive goes, and then it rotates to see how badly those splines on the drive are. And they look pretty okay. There's no major damage to them. There's no swarf all around here. So basically it's just a case of replacing this, hopefully. Hang on, let's check to see if there's any play in that. That's another thing can happen. There's a bearing that goes through there, and this can move backwards and forwards. And this one is solid. Compared to another one, which strangely enough I've got in, that I've got to do exactly the same. This is this part here, yeah, comparisons, and this one here is got loads of play in it, but it's also damaged because it did exactly the same thing. So I'm replacing the whole lot of this because you can't get the parts. Anyway, that's another job. But this one looks okay. So I'm going to clean this up and get back to you. Okay, now I've cleaned all the bits that are going to be put on back in here, the little ringlet wash spacers, the washers, and I've cleaned 2 lots of gunk out of this, 1 tissues of gunk out of this. Anyway, the part I'm replacing is this 4243 640 1600, and it's this. You see how the teeth are on it? Nowhere near as worn as that bit there. Yeah, you can see it. For reference, that bit there where it's damaged, you can see the height of the teeth. So I'll take 10mm nut off of that, throw that in the waste bin, scrap bin. Now what I'm going to do now is pack it with grease. So I know that this is thoroughly greased up before I even put that cog in it. So right, I'm going to place this into there, rotate it around until it drops down, and you can hear it engage with that. I will then gently clamp the cog, so we're trying to get the 10mm bolt on. Gently grab this, zoom out a bit better, and tighten it quickly using my impact. I'll then take the impact off and re-tighten it with my little wrench, because there's now worse than over tightening, and I don't know what the correct torque level is, but that is tight enough, because it's not that tight, but I can't get a grip on this, so it must be tight enough. I know that sounds bad, but yeah, there's no such thing as a torque setting. I can't find a torque setting for this. Right, putting this all back together again. I've got 11 washers. One there, one there. Yes, I know they're not the correct ones that I took out, but they are all the same. And there's a slight indent for these to sit into, so it helps when assembling them. And two more washers. 1, 2. There's one there. Let's move this over a bit so you can see it better. Right. I'll then place, after giving it a quick wipe off to get rid of the old grease. Yeah, I could have sharpened them, but they're pretty okay. And that one goes over the top there like that, sandwiching the washers and hold them in place. Where's that little pen? No, I took it, put it back over there. Sometimes it helps just to move them and relocate them using a little screwdriver. Next thing, the top blade. And then you line it up along the edge so you can actually see the hole that's underneath it. Next thing comes is these, right, the little spacer, and you have them all placed along here where these pins are, where the bolts go through. And yeah, it can be a right old pickle if you've got a bit of grease on your finger, because these things do like to stick to anything. Sorry, dirty finger time. And you do to all of these all the way along until they're all in place and over the holes. These are the two, there's another one there. I gave these a quick wipe off as well, because where you've got this gap here, muck gets in there and you end up with a pile stuck either side of it. That goes onto there. And two more. One more. Oh, sorry, two more was correct. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. Just gently line them up so they're over the top. Next thing is this bar. And just give them a wipe off. And there's an easy way to find which one around. The two at this end are close together and go through there. What I can do is put it through the hole like that, feed it through, put the nut to one side, and do this all the way along, making sure that it actually bolt goes through that spacer. So I've done it in the past, the spacer's moved off, you've clamped it down and suddenly the machine goes and won't move. And it's because one of these little spacers hasn't had the bolt go through it. So there's another one there. It takes a little while to do them, but better to do it slowly and first time than take it apart and to redo it. Three more to go along the shaft. And strange enough, this is a 700mm in length, but it's classified as a 600mm because it's measured from there to there. Right, now all the bolts are through, so I'm just going to put the nut onto the end of here to help hold them all in place, stop this top plate from coming off. Cool, and that's it onto there. And then I'll just go along, do the same with all the other bolts, just gently put a few threads of the nut on there so it's all held in place. As I said, I could have sharpened the blades, but they didn't need it because they were handily out, and it's a lot easier to do when they're out. That's that one tighten up, and then there's just the last one here. Sorry, nose blowing time. Right, so I'll swap over to my impact gun. Swap over this to the 8mm unmodified, and all I do is just tighten all these bolts up now. Now the reason why it's got that space in is when you're tightening the bolts up, it clamps on to that bolt, onto that spacer, and allows a gap for the blades to move. Otherwise you'd have to literally go along through every one and adjust it so it was tight enough for it to slip. But then it'd probably be too loose to stay tight unless you've Loctited it or using lock nuts or whatever. But doing it this way, you can actually tighten it down quite nicely without locking the blade up. It's always one of these that comes out. Right, that's that. Next thing, it's all together. Let's check to see if it reciprocates, or the blades go back, forwards. Yeah, these blades are worn because you see they don't get grease on it. Before they used to have bearings on it, dog bones and other stuff. Now it's just straight on metal, and if you don't get the grease into here, they're just going to wear. But anyway, that now moves backwards and forwards, no problem. So I shall put the last two of these in. Come on. For some reason that's tightened up on the nut. With this, bolt, washer, spacer, washer, through hole, nut. And then the modified 8mm bolt, 8mm socket. Same again, bolt, washer, spacer, through there, make sure it's on the underneath, 8mm bolt, that's on there, pardon me, breaker bar. Check again to see if it freely moves. Again, it all moves backwards and forwards. So the next thing to do, pump it full of grease. And I mean pump it full of grease. Someone's having a bad cough. So there's an alleyway behind my property, and the amount of times you hear people coughing as they're walking up. Right, turn it around. Give it a few turns and then pump some more grease into it. Give that a few more turns to work it in. And then what I'll do is I'll spread it about the insides. Put this piece, it can only fit around one way because it's tapered. These used to be a bit of cloth at one time, or a bit of felt, now they're a plastic panel. So I'm the one that's coughing as well. place this back on top. One, two, three. Yeah, I know it's supposed to have 4. It only come with 3. I'll have to find one. Well, and now I've just got to test to see if it works properly. Oh yeah, put this bit on as well. Don't forgot. And that's T27. And the grease plug, for all it's worth. Right, now I'll fix the shaft on it and see how it sounds. Right, now I've assembled it up, put the drive shaft on it. Let's connect it up to my portable drill and see what it sounds like. Remember, turns clockwise, not anti-clockwise, because when you start the engine up, engines go clockwise, put the power through it. So anyway, let's see what it sounds like now. And a lot quieter and a lot smoother action. So now I'll put a bit of WD-40 over the blades. Give them a run up so they're lubricated. Surprising the amount of times people don't actually lubricate these blades and just put them away and then wonder why they stick. So that's them lubricated up. And that's another video done by me. So take care folks, and I'll see you in the next video.